Hello everybody, my name is Ahmed Farah and today we're going to be talking about the SAT subject tests. So today we're going to address a few main questions. One, what are the SAT subject tests? Two, why do I need to take them and do I need to take them? Three, which ones should I take? And finally, how do I prepare for them? Let's get started! Now, the SAT subject tests, or as it used to be called the SAT-2, is a College Board and SAT affiliated label, and it is a group of subject-specific tests that you can take for college admissions purposes. Not every college will ask you to take the SAT subject tests. Colleges have different policies when it comes to taking these tests. Some colleges will require you to take them for any major you might be applying for, any program. Some colleges will recommend or require them depending on the major or concentration or college in that university that you're applying to, and some colleges will just ask you to send them if you would like to, or if you have taken them and you think that they would boost your admission chances, or that they would give the admissions officers a better understanding of your background and your capabilities. So always make sure to check your specific college's website, or websites of the colleges in general that you're interested in applying for, before you decide whether to take the SAT subject tests and which ones you should take in particular. Now, let's assume you've done your homework. You know that your particular college or university requires or recommends that you take the SAT subject tests. How do you decide which ones to take? Well, one, some colleges require you to take particular subject tests depending on the major you're applying for. So let's say, for example, you are applying for an engineering major at a somewhat competitive university. That school will probably require or recommend that you take, say, a math 1 or 2 SAT subject test and a science subject test. If the university doesn't require you to, it might still be a good investment to take the SAT subject tests and take specific subjects to show that you have heightened capacities in certain subjects that you can perform very well in. Now, how do you pick those subjects, you say? So let's assume your university is asking you to take a science subject test. That can be chemistry, biology, physics, or any other science subject test that the SAT might be offering that year. My recommendation is to take the subject that you think you can score the best in and that you can have the best percentile in. Always remember that colleges, when it comes to the SAT subject test, don't really care much about the score you've gotten as much as they care about the percentile you've gotten. Since these subjects are very different and are taken by very different student populations, the percentiles can be very different as well. So for example, a 700 out of 800 might place you on the 90th percentile on a French subject test, but it also might place you at the 50th percentile on, say, a Korean subject test. Actually, I'm not sure about those. I'm gonna go get my laptop and we're gonna check. Actually, this is really crazy. So a 700 score out of 800 would place you at the 52nd percentile on a French test, which is, when you think about it, kind of disappointing. If you what is considered a pretty good score, but you're still scoring a very low percentile. But then again, think about it, because most of the students who are going to be taking this test are already very good at French, which is why they're taking the subject test. So even if you're average or slightly above average on the SAT subject tests, you're probably still well above average, or even in the top 10 or 5% of that year's graduating class of high school students when it comes to French. Again, the students who are going to be taking this test are going to be the ones that are already most proficient in French. However, a 700 would place you on the 13th percentile when it comes to the Chinese language test. From here, you can see that there are great disparities when it comes to comparing the same scores across tests on the subject test, which means that the colleges are going to be looking most at your percentiles, not at your score. So think about which subjects you can take to maximize your percentile, not necessarily your score. But remember, when you do get your results back, getting a low percentile on a particular test doesn't mean that, say for example, if you've landed on the 20th percentile, that doesn't mean that 80% of high school students are better than you at that particular subject, because the sample of students taking the SAT subject test is not representative of all high school graduating students of that particular year. So always remember that when you're comparing your scores, whether people are looking at your percentiles, you're competing with a bunch of students who are going to be as competitive and as passionate about the subject test that you're taking as you are. So don't feel disappointed if your percentile is not as high as you want it to be. Another question that pops up when it comes to thinking about the SAT subject tests is how many should I take? And again, this goes back to the particular colleges and universities that you're applying to. Some universities and colleges will look at whatever number of SAT subject tests you decide to submit. Some of them will explicitly say that they're only looking for you to submit 2, maybe 3 at most. Some of them will explicitly also say that they're not interested in seeing your subject test. So always remember to check your particular university or college's website and see what their policy is. That being said, most universities and colleges will ask to see 2 of the subject tests that you have taken. Usually your best strategy would be to send the 2 subject tests that you scored the highest on. What I personally recommend is for students to take 3 subject tests, because you can take as many as 3 on the same day, and then off that set of 3 tests, just choose the 2 that you have scored the highest on. So if you get a low score on a subject test, don't feel compelled to send that score to a university. Choose to send the subjects that are going to show your strengths and make your application shine in that application pool. And now, the most important part, preparing for the subject tests. Now, I've spoken before about the SAT in a video which I will link to somewhere around here and explain the way that you should be preparing for the regular SAT. However, the subject tests are going to be quite different. The SAT subject tests are very much rooted in the knowledge that you're going to be acquiring in the classroom for those specific subject tests, especially when it comes to things like math, sciences, and languages. So when it comes to the SAT subject test, really the best way to prepare for them is just to take the class. Ideally, try to take the AP class or some advanced class that is available in your high school to acquire the knowledge needed for the SAT subject test. Usually, the AP class will cover pretty much everything that's on the subject test. An advanced class or some equivalent of it internationally is going to cover very similar material. Besides that, since curriculums around the world can be quite different, go on the SAT subject test's website on College Board and see the different concepts that each of the SAT subject tests you're interested in taking require you to know in order to succeed on the test. This can be a very good way to just make a checklist of all the things that you need to know while you're preparing for the test, 1 to 3 months in advance before you actually start taking them. That way, you'll know if there are any areas in particular that you have not covered extensively or any concept that you have not yet encountered in your classes that you would need to self-study for using an SAT prep book or just any other online resource. When it comes to prep books, there are a few that I personally recommend and have used. I've used the Princeton Review series extensively for all 3 of the SAT subjects that I've taken, which are French, Chemistry, and Math 2. And all of them were very helpful in getting the scores that I needed to get into the program that I wanted to. So I definitely recommend those. But then again, since I haven't used other book series, I think that most of the books that you'll find out there will have great content that you can use to study for the test. Just remember that there are no official sample tests out there for the SAT subject test. It's not like the regular SAT where the College Board publishes certified sample tests. The exercises and samples that you're going to find in these books are going to be mere speculations of what the test is going to look like by the people who are writing them, which are usually going to be pretty good, but sometimes might have questions that the SAT might not usually ask, or that are in a different format or phrasing, which might throw students off. All in all, I think they are great resources. Definitely invest in a good SAT subject test book. These books will sometimes be available in your school library. If not, it's a great idea to buy them off the internet. And that's all what I have for you guys today. I hope this gave you a better understanding of what the SAT subject tests are, how to choose them, and what are the best strategies to prepare for them. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to comment below or send them to me on my Instagram or Facebook pages. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with your friends who might be preparing for the SAT subject test themselves. I will see you guys very soon. Good luck and bye!